What's up, Star Wars fans? My name is Prince and I am an urban acolyte. Today I'd like to rap with y'all about Luke Skywalker, if that's alright. Yesterday I was doing a live stream and someone asked me what I'm most looking forward to seeing in episode 8, and I said something about wanting to learn the origins of the Jedi. I got cut off because my phone died, but I was gonna say that I was hoping to learn something about the inhabitants of Ahch-To, those caretakers there, and their relationship with the original Jedi who founded the temple on that planet. Now I'm also hoping to learn their relationship with the current Jedi tenant, Luke Skywalker. What I know that we're going to learn is why Luke Skywalker sought refuge at the first Jedi temple. Like what brought him there and why he decided to stay there. Now back in April, I took up that question as to why Luke Skywalker went into hiding. I presented this idea of Luke being like a Zen Master. See, Zen Masters do these very unusual things that people on the outside might consider very strange, or flat out abusive behavior when they're attempting to wake up their students. I mean, there's the story of the Zen Master who cuts off their student's finger to help the student wake up, or the story of Damo's student who cut off his arm to bring about his own awakening. Even when we first meet Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, Luke, and maybe even the audience at that time, was expecting this grand warrior of the old Republic, but what we get is this little green creature who appears to be a little bit senile. I mean, Luke goes to Dagobah expecting to meet the baddest mofo in the galaxy, but he meets a little green booger with a walking stick. Yoda doesn't even have a lightsaber because he lost it during his fight with Darth Sidious. I mean, how is this dude gonna teach Luke how to be a warrior? So it's kind of that thing, but you know what? The Force works in mysterious ways. Judge Yoda not by his size, because the Force is his ally. So what's important when we start talking about what Luke did, what Luke is going to do? What's important is whatever is going on with the Force. This line of thought that I'm going down in what I'm about to say, it started with a conversation on the Fangirls Going Rogue podcast. On this particular episode, Trisha, Teresa, and Sarah were talking about Ewan McGregor reprising the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi in an Obi-Wan standalone film. Well, the question of whether or not the story would occur completely on Tatooine came up, and one of the ladies said it was George Lucas's wishes that Obi-Wan stay on Tatooine the entire time watching over Luke. Well, Trisha said that Jedi usually stick to whatever their orders are for their particular mission. And at this point, Obi-Wan believed that Luke is actually the chosen one who will defeat the Sith. So he's focused on his own training and his mission to guard Luke. But sometimes things happen with the Force that can override whatever your MO is. It's that whole there's been a tremor in the Force thing. And the Force, well, it's calling you into action. So if something is happening, and the Force is calling for Obi-Wan to leave temporarily to investigate whatever's going on, well, he'll have to go with the Force and leave for a little while until the Force is telling him that it's okay to return. That makes me think of a story that I heard yesterday over on Ken Gallett's Internal Fighting Arts podcast. Yeah, I know, I listen to a lot of podcasts when I'm out walking. Anyway, Ken tells the story about a Confucian scholar and a Taoist. The two of them, the Confucian and the Taoist, are out enjoying tea and having a friendly debate about the intellects of Confucius and the Tao Te Ching. So up walks a soldier who slaps the Confucian scholar and begins to drink his tea. The Confucian scholar begins to apologize to the soldier, and he does all the proper things a person would do when addressing a government official or a high-ranking military officer. Now this time the soldier then turns to look at the Taoist and he draws back to slap him too. Just then the Taoist jumps out of his seat, grabs the soldier by the wrist, and he breaks his arm. Now what's the lesson here? Is it that if you try to drink a Taoist tea, they'll break your arm? No, not really. Well, maybe, but not really in this particular story. The Taoist is thinking about Tao, the natural order of things. This soldier is going around abusing people, abusing their power. By breaking the soldier's arm, well, they can't abuse anyone else, not until their arm heals. And perhaps the next time, they'll think twice about abusing people, because you never know when that ordinary looking person could turn out to be a high-level master. So why did I tell this story when I was just talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker before that? Well, we have this idea of going with the Tao balanced with going with the Force, following the way, the natural order of things. See, the Jedi are actually Taoists. Monk Yun Ro wrote the following on his website. Taoism emphasizes compassion, frugality, and humility, and has long been the favorite worldview of China's intellectual and power elite. The Star Wars franchise made Taoism famous in our culture. Yoda and the other Jedi Masters are, in fact, Taoist sages, and the concept of the Force is based on the Taoist notion of Qi, an all-pervasive universal energy. So when you take this idea of the Jedi as being Taoist sages and look back at that story about the Taoist sage, well then, how would a Jedi act in that situation where the soldier is abusing people? Well, they would sense a disturbance in the Force and they take action. Maybe they cut off this guy's arm. That's what Obi-Wan Kenobi did to the bandits in the cantina. Or maybe they just use a mind trick to tell that person that they want to do something more productive with their life besides being a sleemo going around begging for death sticks in another cantina. The point is that you're sensing that the Force is out of balance and you're taking action to put it back into balance, or helping someone take corrective actions to get into balance. It's the same sort of thing we saw when Kanan attempted to teach Sabine to use the Darksaber. She was out of balance, and it took her facing this emotional trauma, this emotional stumbling block, in order to bring her back into balance. So Luke Skywalker. What does this have to do with Luke? Well, there was another Jedi purge, and once again the veil of the dark side has fallen over the galaxy. Once again, all of this was initiated by a Skywalker. So right now, Luke is feeling pretty guilty. It's like, I made all of this possible. I taught my nephew to tap into the currents of the Force. I taught him to ride the wave, and when that wave crashed, he destroyed everything. So I think Luke makes this decision that maybe the galaxy is better off if no one knows how to use the Force. If there are no Jedi or Sith, then there are no Force wielders capable of tearing the galaxy apart at its seams. Now I know that there are other Force wielders outside of the Jedi and the Sith, but right now we can't assume that Luke knows about anything else outside of those two groups, not until we learn otherwise. So upon Luke's arrival on Ahch-To, he's had time to study original Jedi teachings and to possibly commune with Obi-Wan and Yoda from the Nether regions. I think that between his own training and the traumatic experiences he's faced, Luke reaches this transcendent state. And I don't mean transcendent like, oh, Luke is the most powerful being in the galaxy. How powerful is Luke Skywalker? He could rip the Death Star from the atmosphere using the Force. No, I mean Luke has reached this transcendent state where maybe he doesn't identify with other people the way he once did. Pablo Hidalgo said that Luke's greatest strength is his compassion, but maybe Luke has lost that. It's like Luke has become so wu-wei, so focused on the present moment that he's no longer present. It's like he's embodied that opening verse in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. Calamity of calamities, it's all calamity. What has happened will happen, and there's nothing new under the sun. Luke is in this state of ennui or boredom. The same thing is said to have happened to Siddhartha when he initially became enlightened. It's like, wow, okay, I'm enlightened, ta-da! Except life goes on and you need a new challenge. So for Siddhartha, he began to teach. He started the Dharma. Luke began to teach, but one of his pupils turned to the dark side and killed the rest of his students. That student then joined a military organization looking to oppress people. The same thing happened earlier with Anakin, and you know something? I'm willing to bet that it happened before too. Remember what Maz Kanata told Finn, Rey, and Han? She's seen evil take many different shapes, the Sith, the Empire, and now the First Order. It's like the cycle of yugas in the ancient yoga texts. It's the dance between order and chaos. It's extreme yin leading to extreme yang. It's the natural order of things. So I think Luke has either become bored with the entire ordeal or he's looking to end it by simply not participating. The problem is that Poe Dameron, on a mission to find Luke, shoots a stormtrooper cadet who slips for the last time. It's the last straw for his friend who tried to protect him. So he leaves the First Order, which is a final act of defiance against the dark side, which he's managed to resist his entire life. That cadet helps Poe escape. They crash land on Jakku, and the cadet, now reborn as Finn, finds Rey, which coincides with the tremor in the cosmic force. The Force is awakening new possibilities, and the awakening of new abilities in a generation of children of the Force who were previously deaf to the call of the Force. So this is where Luke Skywalker is right now. We'll have to wait until Lucasfilm lifts the veil of silence to give us a little bit more information, and I, for one, am very much looking forward to learning more about Luke, the Jedi, and what he's learned about the Force since we last saw him 30 years ago as a young man on Endor. But I've shared my thoughts on this topic, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think Luke has been doing all this time on Ahch-To, and what kind of person has he become? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be checking back to see what you all have to say. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Make the decision to become the hero of your own story and start the process to become a force for change in your own community. If you enjoyed this video, you can support the channel by sharing it with your friends on your personal preferred social network of choice, and you can also check out some of my other videos on this channel. But that's all I got for this one, so thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you, always.